Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sunday Advanced Bible Study, night, the 18th of May, 2025. Okay, we'll be reading out of the book of Nahum. It's got 3 chapters. We'll read those 3 chapters and break it down. Okay, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at and read and examine. Get the meat out, and if you like what you're hearing and receiving through these videos, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. Okay. For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Redeemer and our Savior, the Lord of Hosts. Okay. This channel was created to aid and assist all Hebrews who are waking up to their true identity in these last days. Okay, shalom and welcome to the channel. Welcome to our Sunday Advanced Bible Study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, a prayer, the Psalms. We have some current events, some need to know information. Then we'll open it up for any questions, comments, and any dialogue that anybody might have. Okay, then we'll go into our scripture reading, which is, like I said earlier, we'll be reading out of the book of Nahum, chapters 1 through 3. Okay, then we'll pick a scripture out, we'll read and break it down, and then we'll close out. Okay, this moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts, and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. So Lord, we come before Thee, thanking You for Your mercy and Your power. We come before You that You keep, direct, guide us through the upcoming week, O Lord, for there are trials and pestilence and mayhem at every turn. And for this cause, we honor and respect You greatly. Turn not Thy face from us, but allow us in our searching of You to find You, O Lord, and to dwell with You. Peace be unto You. Okay. I'll read the Psalms right quick. Okay. I'll read Psalms 54. It's not that long. It's a prayer for protection. Okay. Save me, O God, by Thy name, and judge me by Thy strength. Hear my prayer, O God. Give ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set God before them. Selah, behold, God is mine helper. The Lord is with them that upholdeth my soul. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies, cut them off in Thy truth. And I will freely sacrifice unto Thee, and I will praise Thy name, O Lord, for it is good. For He hath delivered me out of all trouble, and mine eyes have seen His desire upon mine enemies. Okay, so that was a prayer for protection. It's a Psalm of David. Okay. Any comments on that? Okay, we'll keep going. Got some current events right here. We'll play them and then we'll talk about.
Hello and welcome. We begin with South Africa. The first group of white South Africans has arrived in the United States after President Donald Trump granted them refugee status as victims of what he calls racial injustice. The group of around 50 white South Africans was welcomed at Dulles Airport in Virginia following their flight from Johannesburg. The group includes families with children. Some arrived waving small American flags. They were greeted by the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State and Homeland Security.
On behalf of President Trump, Secretary Noem, we're just so grateful that you guys are here. Everybody within DHS, we've been so excited to be able to get you guys here to process, to vet, everything, so you guys get a really warm start.
Before the group's arrival, President Trump said he is expected to meet with South African leaders next week. Trump repeated his allegations that Afrikaners are fleeing a terrible situation back home.
Because they're being killed, and we don't want to see people be killed. Now, South Africa leadership is coming to see me, I understand, sometime next week. And, we're supposed to have I guess a G20 meeting there or something, but we're having a G20 meeting. I don't know how we can go unless that situation's taken care of.
South Africa has reacted by saying the white Afrikaners who have accepted resettlement in the United States did not face any form of persecution in South Africa. America's biggest trading partner in Africa is now under fire from Washington. As soon as Trump took office for a second term, he accused the South African government of confiscating white Afrikaans farmers' land as a part of reforms meant to redress inequalities entrenched under the former apartheid system. For context, whites make up 7.3% of South Africa's population, but own more than 70% of the land, even 30 years after apartheid ended. Afrikaners are one ethnic group in South Africa, mostly descended from Dutch settlers. They constitute approximately 5% to 6% of South Africa's population. Though a numerical minority, Afrikaners have historically held a strong economic position in South Africa, but Trump says they are now facing persecution. The South African government has called his claim misinformation. It has denied mistreating whites or forcibly seizing any land. Pretoria has also dismissed allegations by tech billionaire Elon Musk, who was born in South Africa. Musk has repeatedly accused the black-led government of encouraging a white genocide and is believed to be an influential voice behind Trump's narrative. The issue has also strained bilateral ties. Trump has cut all aid to South Africa, expelled South Africa's ambassador, avoided G20 meetings, and imposed high tariffs on South African exports. As Trump's relocation plan unfolds, many in South Africa have expressed surprise that whites are being granted victim status in South Africa. Even some groups that represent white South Africans have rejected the U.S. offer. Meanwhile, in the U.S., the Episcopal Church's Migration Service is refusing a directive from the federal government to help resettle white South African refugees. The church cites its commitment to racial justice and reconciliation. It says it's painful to see one group of refugees selected in an unusual manner receive preferential treatment over others who have waited years in dangerous conditions. Now, this comes even as Trump has slashed most refugee programs, including those for Afghanistan, Iraq, and sub-Saharan Africa.
Justice, reconciliation, and historical integrity. And I think that's where it is beginning. But it is also interesting to note that they've observed selective treatment of those Afrikaners. And it is for those reasons that the church, the Episcopal Church, decided to distance itself from such. And with an understanding, because if they have a relationship with the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, they understand what is the history of South Africa, what were the battles, that there were struggles that South Africans were having in when the minority Afrikaners were ruling the country. It is out of that background, I think they made a good.
Thanks for being with us on the show and for sharing your views.
Thank you very much.
At first post, we are choosing to hold on to accuracy. That means we won't always be first. We may not get you your breaking alert. But what you will get is what we owe you. And that is the truth. Verified, checked, and cross-checked. We rely on sources and verified ones. After all, that's what separates a journalist from a loudspeaker. But sometimes even we miss a beat. And when we do, we will tell you. Like yesterday, we ran visuals from a registered news agency. That visual turned out to be fake. So we are taking accountability. And from now on, we will cite the source of every visual, every picture, every video that you see on First Post will have a source mentioned.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay.
Hello, fam. Hello, brothers and sisters. We're hoping that you are doing perfectly well. So some days ago, or a week or two, we commented on a video of the president of the EU who was saying that they should invade the Sahel, and help it like they helped Ukraine. And you know what happened in Ukraine? Ukraine was manipulated, like Ibrahim Traore has said.
They were manipulated. And today, the reality is plain to see. You see, all the aid that was given, it wasn't really aid. They were told to hand over their minerals. In reality, Ukraine no longer belongs to the Ukrainians. They were manipulated, and now they are the losers. All sectors will be managed by those who led them into this war.
You are manipulated, and now they don't even own their mineral resources. That's why Trump is there forcing this guy to sign. And no matter how much this guy tries to say no, he has to sign because he has to pay for whatever he accepted, a bad deal. So those guys don't go make losses. They only make profit. So this lady was saying that they should invade the Sahel and help them like they helped Ukraine. And do you remember what we said? Like, this is ill-advised and we don't need their help. So later we saw this video of a lady from Denmark who is saying that she's a representative of Denmark and have come to, support Burkina Faso and Ibrahim Traore. And she's saying that she worked in the embassy 15 years ago, and she's a representative of Denmark, and she's talking about EU working with Burkina Faso and other things that you see in this video.
First of all, I wanted to say I am the representative of Denmark for the Sahel region. I'm special representative. And in this capacity, I had the honor of having a meeting with your Prime Minister. Perhaps before that, I wanted to highlight that 15 years ago, I also had the honor of working here in Ouagadougou as the ambassador to Burkina Faso for Denmark. That means I truly hold Burkina Faso close to my heart. And that's also why I think it's really important to have the exchanges we had, very important, positive exchanges with the Prime Minister. It was concerning the situation of the world, one might say, because everything happening now, it's really important to prioritize dialogue and political dialogue, diplomatic dialogue. We also, of course, discussed the relations between Burkina Faso and Denmark. And finally, a bit about the situation in the sub-region. It was very positive. Denmark respects the sovereign decisions of each country, and that's what I wanted to say. We are a small country that also makes sovereign decisions, but also for us through the European Union, and that is important for us. I'm sure it is also important for Burkina Faso to have relations with other countries. And I think it is truly a situation where Denmark respects the sovereign decisions of countries. Denmark and Burkina Faso, we have a history that is almost 40 years, I think, maybe more. We have had collaborations in agriculture, drinking water, in all forms, right? And it is from that we had a very positive discussion, I think.
So I'm just looking at this situation and I am wondering, how can you be in an organization or in a group of people who dislike me, but then say that you love me and you want to work with me? Because if you're affiliated with a group that already doesn't like me, I don't know if I can have that much trust to say, no, you are your own individual, because I know with the kind of people you hang out with, there is some sort of influence on the relations you will have with others. And I'm just looking at the same thing. I'm equating this with the same Ghana ECOWAS situation. The president of Ghana has very good wishes for the AES and Burkina Faso itself. But now you find that they are affiliated with ECOWAS, and ECOWAS has its own mandate. So I'm just looking at this. I'm equating the situation with the same situation that Ghana finds itself with the good president who wishes the AES well, wishes Burkina Faso well, but we find that we are affiliated with a group that doesn't love the AES.
The group of Jamaica.
You see, and it has its own policies, its own mandates, its own guidelines on which work has to be done and how the deliverables have to be delivered and implemented on. So one of which the AES should come back, or else we consider our relationships with. And then for you now to come and say, I'm Danish, we are not like the rest of the EU that doesn't like you. We like you. For me, it says be very careful, Burkina Faso, because maybe this is, there's recently a spy that was captured in Burkina Faso. Lady was working for an organization, coming in to pretend she's helping a country, helping the people of the country, yet she knows very well what she's doing in that country. So this Danish woman, lady who's been there for years, 15 years ago, that's a long time ago, she knows absolutely well what its interest, what Denmark's interest is in Burkina Faso, and she's been at the forefront of serving those interests. So now we are coming back and saying, you know what, you chasing out EU, you chasing out our brothers, it's okay, we are not part of it anyways, we love you, but we are still we are still from the same family of these people you have chased out. I'm just saying, be careful, Traore. There's just too many things happening right now. Everybody's against you, and everybody wants to be that person who will prick that last downfall.
Okay. Any comments on that? Okay. Got some need to know information right here. I thought this was pretty interesting right here. I got 2 videos on it. Let me see. Okay, here's the first one. It's like came out of nowhere. Check it out.
To the show, we got a doozy for you. I was on my Patreon yesterday doing a Q&A with my Tier 1 members, and a couple of members were talking about this story out of Colorado where these 2 Mexican nationals got rolled up transporting a large quantity of ammunition. Now, initially, I'm like, this is not a big deal. Like, this probably happens every single day in this country. One of the biggest issues that's not talked about is the amount of guns and ammunition that's transported from America into Mexico. I mean, think about it. If 99% of the fentanyl crisis is responsible by China importing the good, Mexico transporting the drugs across the border, and 1% is coming from Canada, well, there's a lot of things that we're missing that are coming in, but can you imagine the amount of things we're missing that are going out? And we likely care less about the things going out than we do the things coming in. So there's more attention paid that way. I hear this and go, oh yeah, it could be ammunition, weapons for the cartels. But this one's very different. Let me run a little news piece for you so you get the gist of it. Let's talk about the details of why I think this is a potential inside attack or the precursor or preparation for the inside attack. Let's roll the clip.
4 o'clock, 2 Mexican citizens are facing federal charges after they were allegedly traveling in a car carrying 180,000 rounds of ammunition in southern Colorado. According to the criminal complaint, Martinez Solis and Ivan Amador Gaviria were arrested after a Fremont County deputy pulled them over in Canyon City for not dimming their headlights as they drove by. During that stop, Officers found 180 boxes of ammunition, each of which contained 1,000 rounds. There were approximately 150 boxes of .308 ammunition, common hunting rounds, and about 30 boxes of .762 ammo, which is commonly used in AK-47s. Both Solis and Gavira are now being charged with unlawful possession of ammunition by an alien admitted under non-immigrant U.S. visa.
All right, so you get the gist. Let me go over the timeline for you. March 25th, these two Mexican nationals fly into Denver, Colorado. Their intent is to buy ammunition, and according to the affidavit, it says, further explained that he did not know the intent with the ammunition, but that he believed it was destined for Pueblo, Colorado. The unique aspect here is they had specific marching orders from the time they left Mexico to the time they landed in Denver, Colorado. They had a task and purpose, and that was to get ammo and transport it to Pueblo. And my hope is these guys were being tracked as they landed. I hope immigration officials, and according to them, they had some task force that this was part of. But these guys go, ironically, right down the road to Salt Lake City, Utah. And when I initially heard this on my Patreon, and I heard the bulk of the ammo, I'm like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, how much are they smuggling? 1,000 rounds, a couple thousand rounds? When they get rolled up, this is what the police find. In fact, they're pulled over for traffic violations in Cannon City, Colorado, right down the road where I used to live. So here's a picture of it. Yeah, this is a lot of ammunition. Now, again, if you're watching this, you're going, why are they able to buy 180,000 rounds of ammunition? Apparently, there's 180 boxes with 1,000 rounds in each box of what they say in the news report of .308 and .762. This would weigh down the vehicle a lot. And as an indication that somebody's transporting something, or if you're in a war zone, it could be the indication of an improvised explosive device that's weighing down the vehicle. Now, the concerning thing here is that according to the affidavit, 150 boxes were .308. And it says the other 30 boxes were .762. Well, if you don't know a lot about ammunition, it's either in inches or in the metric system in millimeters. That's the same caliber. .308 is .762 by 51. Now, the 30 boxes could be .762 by 39, but I thought they would likely delineate that. Like, hey, we have 30 boxes of AK ammo and 150 boxes or 150,000 rounds of .308. So apparently these guys had a very specific task and purpose, coming to the country, buying ammunition and transporting it directly to Pueblo, Colorado. Now, I'm asking the question, how is it possible that a non-citizen could go into a ammunition store in Salt Lake City, Utah, and buy 180,000 rounds? Guys, we're not talking about like, hey, I'm buying a couple hundred rounds. It's like, oh, what are you using that for? Oh, we're doing a training thing. Oh, okay. Like, you're an American citizen, people ask questions, more so out of curiosity. You're two Mexican guys who come in, you're not American citizens, and the actual charge, which is interesting, is both Solis and Gavira were both charged with unlawful possession of ammunition by aliens admitted under a non-immigrant visa, the Fed said. And they 80,000 rounds of .762. Okay. To link it for a machine gun. They're not going to buy this ammunition in bulk to supply a whole bunch of semi-automatic gas guns, like a Scar Heavy, an SR-25, an OBR. That's not going to be their intent. AR-10s are not going to be their intent. The reason they're buying that ammunition is to link ammunition for a machine gun. Some weapon systems have disintegrating links that basically fall apart. So when I say linked, I know a lot of people wouldn't know what I'm talking about, but basically the way that .762 is put together is via these links that's pictured.
Okay, that's the first video. We go to the next one.
They're not just running drugs. They're stockpiling weapons inside Georgia, inside your country. Feds just uncovered a cartel operation trafficking military-grade rifles, suppressors, and kilos of drugs, not across the border, but across I-75. If you think the war's over there, you're wrong. This is preparation. This is escalation. This is the cartel laying the groundwork for violence on American soil. And today, I'm going to break down exactly what they're doing and how we're already behind. Let's start with what just went down in Georgia. Coweta County. That's right, not Mexico, not Texas, not even California. Georgia. Literally a couple of states removed from me. Local and federal authorities raid a property tied to La Familia Mochocana, one of the most brutal cartels operating out of Mexico. What exactly did they find? What they found wasn't just a stash, guys. It was a weapons cache. Fully automatic rifles modified with auto sears, suppressors, hundreds of rounds of ammo, burner phones, false documentations, and more than 40 kilos of methamphetamine. This wasn't just a random bust. This was logistics. This was supply chain warfare. This is the kind of operation you set up when you're preparing for something bigger than street level dealing. This was not just a drug house. So why Georgia? Why not Arizona or New Mexico or El Paso? Guys, the answer is simple. Georgia is central to the southeastern drug corridor. Highways like I-75 and I-85 connects to the Gulf Coast, the Carolinas, and the Midwest, right? Atlanta is a perfect distribution point. And if you guys remember the guest I had on not too long ago, he stated they have a hub in Atlanta. And Georgia's gun laws make it easier to move weapons throughout the entire state without raising eyebrows. It's not going to look uncommon. La Familia Mochocana isn't stupid. They're adapting. They're setting up regional hubs, just like your Amazons. But instead of packages, they're moving fentanyl, cash, and ARs. Let's go deeper into what the feds found in this raid. Guys, they found multiple rifles with illegal modification, auto sears, that convert semi-auto weapons to fully automatic weapon systems. They found suppressors, highly restricted under federal laws. They found fake driver's license. And they also found fake social security cards. They found burner phones encrypted with communication devices. And they also found a large quantity of meth and cocaine. This wasn't a backyard operation. This was organized, guys. This was financed. This was deliberate. The cartel, they just set up a command post in the middle of America, not just to push drugs, but to defend territory, enforce power, and possibly launch retaliation actions if they are confronted. The real question we have to ask is, what does that mean? It means the cartel isn't just exporting poison. They're importing infrastructure, guys. They've gone from narco trafficking to narco insurgency. They have embedded in construction crews, agricultural jobs, and legal trucking firms. They're building identity networks with false documents. They're recruiting locals and creating loyalty through fear and cash. And now they're arming up, right? The US government is treating this like drug enforcement. But this isn't just a DEA issue, guys. This is a national security threat. This is asymmetrical warfare. The cartel doesn't need tanks anymore, right? What they do need is street control, and they're getting it, one safe house at a time.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody heard anything about that?
Shalom. I haven't. Shalom, everyone. But to me, the way they announced about those gentlemen with all the ammunition, putting it out here like that, it was ever since March. So now they're speaking on it in May. So I'm thinking they're giving reason to do the martial law because they put enough things out there to, say that the cartels are ready to start something, then they can go on with their martial law and do what they want to do in that aspect. Because prior to that, last year, they were saying how they were coming over and raiding apartments, trying to take over with their AKAs, and where they get all those guns from. So that's my thought on it. The way they're bringing it to light during this time that he can't get it done when he said he was going to have it on the 20th on his birthday. So now they want to do something that would give them reason to do it, and they have to have some reason, and it's within the United States that they can call that martial law. If that sounds credible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anybody else?
Shalom, everyone. Back to the part where the two Mexicans were able to purchase all that. That sounds like a setup because if they're non-citizens, how would they have been able to get all of that? Shalom.
Exactly right, yeah. So it's like they setting up setting the stage for them to call martial law. It's what it seemed like to me. Yeah, it's almost like what they did with Oswald. Okay. Anybody else got anything on that? Okay, I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything they came across? Conversation from last night, from the Shabbat class, or anything they came across they want to talk about, they want to share? Okay, I'm gonna play this here. I thought this was kind of like need to know information. Okay, here we go.
And start, and we carry.
Okay.
What if I told you Air Force One vanished from radar at 3:00 a.m.? No distress call, no press, no plan, and reappeared hours later, not in Europe, not in Asia, but in Burkina Faso? And the only man waiting in the shadows was a 35-year-old soldier who had expelled France and told the West, Africa is not for sale. His name, Ibrahim Traore. Subscribe if you believe the world is shifting and Africa is rising. It was exactly 3:00 a.m. across the globe when air traffic controllers in multiple regions simultaneously reported an anomaly. Air Force One had vanished from radar. Not hijacked, not just gone. No distress signal, no satellite ping, no digital footprint. A ghost in the sky. There was no public flight plan, no diplomatic clearance, no press corps, no Secret Service manifest, no late night tweets, not even a typo. Washington went still. The usual buzz of classified channels turned ice cold. And then a whisper started moving through defense corridors, intel cables, and encrypted inboxes. The jet, monitored 24/7, with some of the most advanced surveillance systems in the world, had slipped through every net, heading south, deep into West Africa. But why? And where exactly was it going? At the Pentagon, someone pulled up a blacklisted destination. In Langley, a facial recognition algorithm triggered a flag.
and across the encrypted briefing sheets passed hand to hand at dawn, one country was circled in red, Burkina Faso. To most Americans, this landlocked African nation rarely appeared on cable news, except in passing. But in recent years, its name had started to echo in global corridors of power, sometimes with admiration, often with unease. It was led by a man many called dangerous, others visionary, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. At just 35, Traoré had done what most post-colonial leaders only dreamed of. He had expelled French troops, severed ties with long-standing neo-colonial institutions, and declared a new direction. Africa would no longer ask permission to rise. But Traoré wasn't just a defiant voice. He was a presence, a man of few words, fewer smiles, and a gaze that could disarm a room. He had no palace, no private jet, no family dynasty behind him, just a weathered uniform, a nation in flux, and the unshakable belief that dignity was non-negotiable. So why would Donald Trump, the volatile former president of the United States, travel in absolute secrecy to meet a man like Traoré? That question, in those early hours, hung like gunpowder in fog. Confidential sources later confirmed it. Trump had personally ordered the stealth mission, bypassing diplomatic channels and leaving his own Security Council in the dark. He boarded Air Force One under a fake alias, Mr. Blake Henderson, and took off without protocol, press, or full escort. Even within his inner circle, only one aide knew the truth. Alexander Crane, a longtime national security advisor, later suspected of leaking coordinates to a foreign intelligence ring. But that comes later. The jet approached Ouagadougou Airport in silence. No flight path filed, no runway lights, no welcoming delegation. Just heat rising from tarmac and shadows too quiet to trust. Then, a single black SUV pulled up near the edge of the field. From the vehicle stepped a man not dressed in ceremonial robes or tailored suits, but in military fatigues. No medals, no flag pin, just dust-colored boots and a pair of calm, watchful eyes that had seen too much. Captain Ibrahim Traoré. He stood alone, arms folded behind him, watching as the massive American jet descended like a specter. No roar, no spotlight, only darkness and steel. The stairs unfolded slowly. From the top, Donald Trump emerged, alone, no entourage, no teleprompter, just a red tie dancing in the wind and an expression that gave away nothing. They met at the base of the staircase. No greetings, no translators, just a handshake, firm, cold, and long enough to make the wind stop. There were no cameras, no sound bites, no flags in the background. And yet, those watching from the shadows knew something tectonic had just begun. Inside a private terminal, bare walls, one table, two guards stationed outside, they sat. Two men, two ideologies, one continent in question. Trump, the billionaire showman once considered the most powerful man on earth, and Traoré, the soldier-turned-president whose rise had thrown sand into the gears of Western strategy in Africa. The room was guarded by Traoré's most trusted men, not trained by NATO, not armed by foreign contractors. These were soldiers shaped in insurgency, loyal not to command, but to cause. No secret service, no note-takers, no Western ears, just silence, strategy, and the thick scent of suspicion. Eyes. It was steady, unshaken. Africa is not your playground, he said. We are no longer for sale. The sentence didn't just hit. It fractured something. It wasn't a slogan. It was a sentence carried by centuries. He wasn't speaking only to Trump. He was speaking for nations whose maps had been redrawn by outsiders, whose leaders had been bought and erased, whose children had been taught to wait for rescue. Traoré wasn't interested in oil contracts or skyscrapers. He wasn't asking for charity. He was rejecting the entire premise that Africa needed to be bought into modernity. Instead, he made it clear Africa had its own compass, and it wasn't pointing west. Those words echoed long after the meeting ended. They moved through African parliaments, student unions, online forums. They reached villages where radio stations still played colonial jingles. And global intelligence circles quickly pieced together fragments of a story the world wasn't supposed to hear. The narrative of Troy's refusal to bow to Western pressure, his unwavering stand for African sovereignty, ignited social platforms, political debates, and academic forums from Dakar to Dar es Salaam. It inspired students, provoked ministers, reignited movements that had once faded beneath compromise.
Okay. Anybody, what you think? Anybody heard anything about that?
Shalom, brother Leonard. I think it's interesting. He's talked to now the Obamas, and then now had a top secret meeting with Trump. I don't know what they're working on, but I think that's for sure interesting.
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly, right. And like I was talking about the other night, all of a sudden, Michelle Obama got something to say about what's going on in the Sahel, and then right after that, Obama called him, talked to him. So, like I said, somebody putting pressure on them to do something about what's going on with Torah. Okay. Anybody else got anything on that?
Oh, shalom, brother Leonard. I wanted to say too, a few videos ago, probably like 2 weeks ago, I had seen a video that said like the assassination plot for Torre, they supposedly needed to be done by June 5th.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I don't know why, but apparently America needs it done by June 5th.
Oh yeah, I need to check that out. Do some research on that. That's my first time hearing that one. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay, like I said, we're gonna read out of the book of Nahum. It's only 3 chapters. So try to get George, you want to read the first chapter? What do you think?
Shalom. Sorry, sir. I'm driving in from out of town, and I
Okay.
had put it in the chat. I can't read right now, but thank you, sir.
Okay. You want to, Nidra, you want to read it? Chapter 1?
Shalom, yes, sir. Okay. Nahum.
Yeah, Nahum.
All right, Nahum chapter 1. My caption says, "Who can withstand the Lord's anger?" The burden of Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum the Elkoshite. God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. He rebuketh the sea and maketh it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. Bashan languisheth, and Carmel and the flower of Lebanon languisheth. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence. Yea, the world and all that dwell therein. Who can stand before his indignation, and who can abide in the fierceness of his anger? His fury is poured out like fire, and the rocks are thrown down by him. The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him. But with an overrunning flood, he will make an utter end of the place thereof, and darkness shall pursue his enemies. What do you imagine against the Lord? He will make an utter end. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. For while they be folden together as thorns, and while they are drunken as drunkards, they shall be devoured as stubble, fully dry. There is one come out of thee that imagineth evil against the Lord, a wicked counselor. Thus saith the Lord, though they be quiet, and likewise many, yet thus shall they be cut down. when he shall pass through. Though I have afflicted thee, I will afflict thee no more. For now will I break his yoke from off thee, and will burst thy bonds in sunder. And the Lord hath given a commandment concerning thee, that no more of thy name be sown. Out of the house of thy gods will I cut off the graven image and the molten image. I will make thy grave, for thou art vile. Behold upon the mountains the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace. O Judah, keep thy solemn feasts, perform thy vows, for the wicked shall no more pass through thee. He is utterly cut off. That's Nahum chapter 1. Shalom.
Okay, yeah. So you can see right here that in verse 13 he says, "For now will I break his yoke from off of thee." And like I was saying, when the Most High is talking to Israel, you see one man, Jacob. So that's why he's talking in singular terms. And you have to apply that to Isaiah 53 when he keeps saying him and thee. And he's talking to the nation of Israel with the thee, like right here. It says, "Now will I break his yoke off of thee," off of the nation of Israel, "and I will burst his bounds asunder. And the Lord hath given a commandment concerning thee." The thee right there is Israel, nation of Israel. That no more the names sown out of the house of thy gods will I cut off the graven images and the molten images, and I will make thy grave for thou art vile. Okay. So yeah. Anybody else got anything on chapter 1? Comments, questions? Chapter 2. You want to read chapter 2 and I'll read chapter 3. AJ?
Shalom, yes, sir. And my subtitle says the invasion of Nineveh. Verse 1: He that dasheth in pieces is come up before thy face. Keep the munition, watch the way, make thy loins strong, fortify thy power mightily. For the Lord hath turned away the excellency of Jacob as the excellency of Israel. For the emptiers have emptied them out and marred their vine branches. The shield of his mighty man is made red. The valiant men are in scarlet. The chariots shall be with flaming torches in the day of his preparation, and the fir trees shall be terribly shaken. The chariots shall rage in the streets. They shall jostle one against another in the broad ways. They shall seem like torches. They shall run like the lightnings. He shall recount his worthies. He shall recount his worthies. They shall stumble in their walk. They shall make haste to the wall thereof, and the defense shall be prepared. The gates of the river shall be open, and the palace shall be dissolved. And Huzab shall be led away captive. She shall be brought up, and her maids shall lead her as with the voice of doves, tabering upon their breasts. But Nineveh is of old like a pool of water, yet they shall flee away. Stand, stand, shall they cry, but none shall look back. Take ye the spoil of silver, take the spoil of gold, for there is none end of the store and glory out of all the pleasant furniture. She is empty and void and waste, and the heart melted, and the knees smite together, and much pain is in all loins, in the faces of them altogether blackness. All gathered blackness. Where is the dwelling of the lions and the feeding place of the young lions? Where the lion, even the old lion, walked, and the lions whelped, and none made them afraid. The lion did tear in pieces enough for his whelps, and strangled for his lionesses, and filled his holes with prey, and his dens with ravin. Behold, I am against thee, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will burn her chariots in the smoke, and the sword shall devour thy young lions, and I will cut off the prey from earth, and the voice of thy messengers shall no more be heard. Shalom, that's chapter 2.
Okay. Got anything out of that?
Well, brother, I got a question, brother Leonard. In chapter 7 of Hazab, who is that?
I don't even know. It's got let me see, 7:1 says,
A decree. Wait.
yeah, it is decreed she shall be beaten. Beating, ain't that what it say?
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that'll be something to search out.
All right, let me circle that. Yes, sir.
No, I know in verse 8 it says, but Nineveh, this whole thing, Nahum is about Nineveh. It says, but Nineveh is the of old, like a pool of water. Yet they shall flee away. Stand and stand shall they cry, but none shall look back. So if you go, like I was saying before earlier, how everything is out of context because of what they did with the New Testament. Remember they asked JC, every prophet has a sign, right? They asked JC, what was his sign? And he said his sign was the sign of Jonah. And that was the sign of Jonah was that he was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights, right? But whale was when you deal with Jonah, the book of Jonah, when Jonah was brought on the scene, what was Jonah dealing with? Anybody know what Jonah was dealing with when you go to his book?
What, brother? Was he dealing with Nineveh, brother Leonard?
Right, Nineveh. He's dealing with Nineveh. That's
Okay,
all.
right.
So, like I was saying, when you go to Genesis, just you can see what they did. When you understand all this and pay attention to it. So if you go to Genesis chapter 10, like I said, I'm always going there to the table of nations. Okay, Genesis chapter 10, and they talk about it. I think it's Revelation chapter 18, 17 and 18. I think it is. Always talking about that great city, right? That great city. Well, chapter 10, verse 12. Okay, resin between Nineveh and Caleb. That same is that great city. So the great city is Nineveh. You see that?
Right. Yes, sir.
So just the thing, if you go to the Tower of Babel chapter, and this way come in where you got Hebrews. That's what Abraham was. Abraham was a Hebrew, but he wasn't a Hebrew Israelite. The Israelite part came when Jacob's name was changed. So Abraham and all the people before him and up until Jacob, they was Hebrews. So right here in chapter 10, verse chapter 10 of Genesis, verse 21. See this Shem, right? They're Hebrews. So it says, unto Shem also the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japhet the elder, even to him the children born. And the children of Shem, Elam, Asher, Arphat, Lud, and Aram. Aram, and these people right here, they're the ones that ended up. It's 2 boys. It's two boys was born. Just keep going. So it says, and the children of Aram, Uz, Hul, Geder, and Mush, and Arphat begot Shelah, and Shelah begot Eber, right? That's Hebrew. And under Eber were born 2 sons. See that? The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brother name was Joktan. Now, 26, they pick up the lineage of Joktan. They all Peleg and Joktan and their lineages are Hebrews. So 26 says Joktan pick up the lineage of Joktan. Joktan begot the sheriff, all these names, I can't say these names. Then you get down to 30. And their dwelling was from Misha as thou goest on the seafront to the mount of the east. These are the sons of Shem after their families, after their tongues, and in their lands, after their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah after their generation in their nations, and by these were the names, but the nations divided. So They went to the east. And if you go to the next chapter, you'll see just like you had Abraham, and then they got to a certain point when the Lord of hosts was blessing them so much, they had so much possessions, they had to separate. Lot ended up in Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham went the other way. Well, the same thing right here. These people ended up at the Tower of Babel. They're Hebrews, but there's the Tower of Babel. These are the ones that's at Nineveh. And then later, the king of Sennacherib took the other 10 tribes there also. That's why Jonah going there, because it's Hebrews there. And that's the reason why the Most High spared them, gave them opportunities to turn from their wickedness. They're Hebrews. So, chapter 11, and the whole earth was one language and one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east. See that? If you go verse 30, chapter 10, and their dwelling place was from Misha, as thou goest unto Sephar to the mount of the east. So they traveling along with Nimrod. They in that group. They tied to them, the Hebrews. So, like I was saying before, you know, when you understand, when the Lord of hosts came, they got the nation of Israel became a nation, and he said that the stranger got just as much rights as you got Hebrew Israelites, but you got Hebrews that's still here. And he said the stranger, which is these Hebrews, they can come to Jerusalem where the Hebrew Israelites said, and they got just as much right in Jerusalem as the Hebrew Israelite do. But they got you thinking the strangers, these Gentiles or whatever, but he's talking about these people. Just like before the flood, it says Noah, it says that they had sons and daughters, but he called one particular son, but then he says he had other sons and daughters. So all we doing is following the ones that he called. But he still got people, lineages of people from these men, but they're not part of the called seeds. And it's the same thing right here. Same thing is happening. So let me show you what I'm talking about again. Another place. We got in. Let me get it. You got in Genesis chapter 10, verse 21. You got sons of Shem, and then you got. Let me see what that said. Yeah, and then chapter 11, verse 10. That's the other one. This Peleg. This is the Most High dealing with, following right here. Verse 10. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old, and he begot Araphat 2 years after the flood. Shem lived after he begot Araphat 500 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Araphat lived 5 and 30 years, and he begot Shelah. And Araphat lived after he begot Shelah 403 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Shelah lived 30 years, and he begot Eber, right? Eber, the one who had the 2 boys, right? And Shelah lived after he begot Eber 403 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Eber lived lived 4 and 30 years, and he begot Peleg. See that? So over here in Genesis 10, verse 26, he giving you the line of Joktan. They ended up with Nimrod and over in Nineveh. But then you go to 11 and 10, and 11 and verse 16. Now we see the lineage of Peleg, which is what Abraham came out of. When you get down to 25 and 26, it says, Nahor lived after he begot Terah, which is Abraham's father, 190 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years, and he begot Abram. See that? Abram, Nahor, and Haran. This is the lineage right here, the Most High is dealing with, following. But you also had another boy, Joktan, and they ended up, they Hebrews, both of them Hebrews, but they ended up over with the Tower of Babel and got scattered. See that?
Yes, sir, brother. Leonard, that's not saying they're a bad fit, right? Necessarily.
No, they just said they were separated. You know, they went no, they went after in so many words, they went after Nimrod. Just like when you know they might not intended to go there, but they ended up there and ended up dealing with those. We know that Terah was idol worshiper, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
See what I'm saying? So he, you know, they ended up over there in that region. In the same way with Lot. The angels had to come get Lot after he made a decision. Abraham gave him a choice with you know what land, whatever direction you go in, I'm gonna go in the other direction. Well, he ended up in Sodom and Gomorrah. The angels had to deliver him out of it. And so you see the same thing happening with Nineveh. The Hebrews in Nineveh. That's why the Lord keep on giving them opportunities. And he sent Noah there. I mean, he sent Jonah there to give them the opportunity to repent. But a lot of people don't know that those are Hebrews. Okay. Got any other comments on that?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay, so I'm gonna read chapter 3. It says, "Woe to the bloody city!" Right? See that? Remember what I just showed you in chapter 10 of Genesis. Woe to the bloody city. That's Nineveh, right? Woe to the bloody city is all full of lies and robbery. The prey devoureth not. The noise of the whip of a whip, and the noise of the rattling of the wheels, and the prancing horses and the jumping chariots. The horsemen lifted up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there is a multitude of slain and a great number of carcasses, and there is none end of their carcasses. They stumble upon their carcasses because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts. Thou sellest nations through her whoredom, and families through their witchcraft. Behold, I am against thee, said the Lord of hosts, and I will discover the scrapes upon thy face, and I will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame, and I will cast abominable filth upon thee, and make thee vile, and I will set thee as a gazing stock. And it shall come to pass that all they that look upon thee shall flee from thee, and say, Nineveh. See that? Nineveh is laid waste. Who will bemoan her? Whence shall I seek comforters for thee? So they took this right here, this narrative. That's what they're doing with over in the Revelations. Okay. So anyway, it says 8. Okay. Art thou better than Populus? No, that was situated among the rivers that had the waters round about it, whose ramparts were the sea, and her walls were from the sea. Ethiopia and Egypt were her strength, and it was infinite. Put, Leuven were thy helpers. These are these cities. You got to go to Ezekiel chapter 19 to get an understanding on that. But it says, yet was she carried away. She went into the captivity. Her young people also were dashed into pieces at the tops of the streets, and they cast lots for her honorable men, and all her great men were bound in chains. Thou also shall be drunken. Because drunken, thou also shalt be drunken. Thou shalt be hid. Thou also shalt seek strength because of the enemy. All thy strongholds shall be like fig trees with first ripe figs. If they be shaken, they shall even fall into the mouth of the eater. And behold, thy people in the midst of thee are women. The gates of thy land shall be set wide open unto thy enemies. The fire shall devour all thy bars. draw thee water from the siege, fortify thy strongholds, and go into clay, and tread the mortar, and make strong the bricklings. There shall of the fire devour thee, the sword shall cut thee off, and it shall eat thee up like the canker. Where did I stop at? Okay, stop it.
Verse 15.
Okay, yeah, let me see where I was at. Okay, let me see. Way up at 15. Okay, it says, there shall the fire devour thee, and the sword shall cut thee off, and it shall eat thee up like the cankerworm, and make thyself many as the cankerworm, make thyself many as the locust. Thou hast multiplied thy merchants above the stars of heaven, and the cankerworm spoileth and flieth away. Thy crowned are as the locust, and thy captives as the grasshopper, which camp in the hedges in the cold on a cold day. But when the sun arises, they fly away, and their place is not known where they are. Thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. Thy nobles shall dwell in the dust, thy people in the scattering upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. There is no healing of thy bruise, thy wound is grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee shall clap their hands over thee, for upon whom have not thy wickedness passed continuously. So you notice we see the same wording in that's in it's in Isaiah 53. We see it right here. It says 19. There is no healing of thy bruise. Thy womb is grievous. Same thing in Isaiah 53. So you're dealing with Hebrew Israelites in Isaiah 53. You're dealing with Hebrews right here. That's in Syria. Okay. Any comments?
Shalom, brother. The Hebrews of the East, do they have the same rights we have in like Israel? Do they or
Yeah,
don't they?
they come from the same lineage. Like I was saying, Abraham was never an Israelite, was he?
Right. Yes, sir.
So if we got rights in the Jerusalem, the rest of them got rights, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
That's the stranger he's talking about when you go to Leviticus. It says the stranger that comes here, he got just all the same rights as you got. He's talking about those people.
Oh,
Yeah, in Leviticus. But they want, but the Gentile, when they got hold of our records, they want you to think that's you know, the Gentiles was drafted in. But no, he's talking about those Hebrews.
yes, sir. Because that's what the camps keep talking about. That they.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Right. And then, like I said, we saw that they eventually got, we even see with the good and the bad feed. Let's look at that right quick. With the good and the bad fig in Jeremiah 25, 24. Let me get it. Jeremiah 24. It says, and then you take that same understanding to the curses. Right? So 24 says, I'm gonna read it. It said, excuse me, the lesson from the good and the bad fig. The Lord showed me, and behold, 2 baskets of figs were set before the table of the Lord. After Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away captive Jeconiah, the son of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, and the princes of Judah, with the carpenters and the smiths, and from Jerusalem, and had brought them to Babylon. 1 basket had very good figs, even like figs that are first ripe, and the other basket had naughty figs, which could not be eaten. They were so bad. Then said the Lord unto me, what seest thou, Jeremiah? And I said, figs, the good figs, very good, and the evil, very evil, that cannot be eaten. They are so evil. And again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, like these good figs. So go to Abraham, then got blessed, and Lot that got blessed. They one went one way, the other one went the other way. Same at the tower. Joktan went one way, Peleg went another. But keep going. It says, for I will set mine eyes upon the good fig, right, to them for good, and I will bring them again to this land, and I will build them, and not pull them down, and I will plant them, and not pluck them up, and I will give them a heart to know me, and I will that I am the Lord, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. There we go again. I told you, he said, the Lord of hosts became their God. That's what Negroes ain't getting at. So he says, that I will be their God, for they shall return unto me with their whole heart. Now here you go. This is what people not getting. And as for the evil fig, which cannot be eaten, they are so evil. Surely, thus said the Lord God, so will I give Zedekiah. You know, Zedekiah was wicked as hell. He the one threw the scrolls that Barak brought to him. Jeremiah was in the dungeon. The Most High Spirit came on Jeremiah, and Barak wrote everything down and took it to Zedekiah. He burned it. That's why Nebuchadnezzar came and burnt everything in Jerusalem, because of what he done. So he's the wicked part of the wicked. He's the leader over the wicked figs. He says, 8, and as for the evil fig which cannot be eaten, they are so evil. Surely thus said the Lord, so will I give Zedekiah, king of Judah, and his princes, and the residue of Jerusalem that remain. See that? That remain in this land. And to them that dwell in the land of Egypt. So the wicked fig is in Egypt, some of them in Egypt, and he left them. He had Nebuchadnezzar to take the good fig to Babylon because he's going to bring them back later. So 9, and I will deliver them. See that? See that? I will deliver them to be removed. Look at this. Into all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, to be a reproach, a proverb, a taunt, a curse, in all the places whither I shall drive them. But this is what they ain't getting. Then, and I will send the sword. See that? Famine, pestilence among them, till they be consumed from off the land that I gave unto them and to their fathers. We're going to get rid of them. They ain't coming back. But the good feed coming back. See that?
Right. Yes, sir.
He brought pestilence and mayhem after mayhem to throw the kitchen sink until he finally got rid of them. They dissipated like smoke. They ain't coming back. So that's why you see the remnant. It's a remnant coming back. And so they ain't gonna, when the Spirit of the Most High come, they ain't gonna get it. It's gonna roll off like water on a duck bag. They ain't gonna get it. But it's the righteous fig. His intention is to bring them back. So they're gonna get whatever he's doing. They're gonna see it and they're gonna get it. He's gonna register. But the wicked fig is just like a tumbleweed. He's gonna just keep rolling and rolling till you ain't gonna see him no more. See that?
Sir.
Right. That's what over and over again. That's what he do. We saw when they came out of Egypt. And then all through that, they was whining, they complaining about this and that. He brought the quails and put it in their mouth and choked them to death. He opened up the earth and dropped a bunch of them in the earth. And Moses sicked the Levites on some of them, killed them. And there ain't no coming back. So the thing you got to look at is if he did that to Hebrews and Hebrew Israelites, how the hell he brought the Gentiles in? Come on. See that?
Yes, sir. That's a good point right there.
Yeah, he definitely got a disdain for the Gentile. If he doing that to Hebrews and Hebrew Israelites, what you think with the Gentile? And we see the example in Jubilees. We got laws telling us not to cohabitate with them. No kind of way. You never had no teachers on bringing them into nothing had to do with Israel or nothing had to do with him because of their origins. Okay. In the comments, the questions. Okay, everybody good? Somebody gonna pick a scripture, then we can read it and break it down.
Brother Leonard, I'll go to Psalms 5 real quick.
Okay, what does it say?
And this would just be Psalms 5, 1 through 3. Give ear to my ears, O Lord, consider my meditation. Hearken unto the voice of my cry, my King and my God. For unto thee will I pray. My voice shall thou hear in the morning. O Lord, in the morning I will direct my prayer unto thee and will look up. Shalom.
Okay, so when I hear that, the verse, what verse did you read?
1 through 3, sir. Psalms 5.
What's the name of it? The psalm?
Oh, God hates wickedness.
Psalm of David, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So remember that what David said in 2 Samuel chapter 7, when he said that when he recognized who the Lord of hosts was and that he was the one that he needed to pray to.
Right. Yes, sir.
He says, you doing all this for me and showing me all this favoritism toward me. Now I know is that it's you that I need to pray to. I direct my prayers unto thee. He realized that the Lord of hosts was a mediator. And so same thing he's saying right there. Can you read them again?
Yes, sir. And it says, give ear to my words, O Lord. Consider my meditation. Hearken unto the voice of my cry, my King and my God. For unto thee will I pray. My voice shall thou hear in the morning, O Lord. In the morning I will direct my prayer unto thee, and I will look up.
Right. So it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot of understanding in that. So right here, he's showing you that the Lord of hosts is the king, right? And his God. I just said. He told them, I came to Egypt. They knew me before that. They knew me as the Almighty. But after I came to Egypt, now they know me. They know me for who I am, Yah. Right? And then we see in Isaiah 44, he says, I'm the king and my redeemer. And David just told you right there, He's your God and he's your king. You see that?
Right. Yes, sir.
So you say, what are you talking about? Well, ain't David the king?
King of Israel. Yes, sir.
Okay, but David just said that the Lord host king, right?
Right.
So that's the power behind David. That the understanding of that. When you see David, you see him. And when you see him, you see Yah. That's the understanding you have to have. Understanding that. The power behind David is him. So most high allotted to him the Lord, the God over the whole earth, over all this, over his kingdom. He allotted Michael the king over his kingdom. And Michael allotted David the king over the kingdom. And that's how you have to see that. In order to understand it. So you say when Bathsheba and went into the chambers where David was at and bowed down with her face to the ground. Why? Because that's what Abraham did when he saw the Lord of hosts in Genesis 18. It's the power and authority that is representing. You got to understand that when you see him, like I said, for the longest they thought Michael was Yah. Ain't that what we thought he was Yah, right?
Right. Yes.
Come on, till the understanding came, and that's what he mean by he had hid himself. That's what the understanding come in. And you ain't got the understanding, they can get you killed. Yeah, like Joshua didn't play with it. He saw a man standing over there with a sword drawn in his head. He said, "Who are you?" See what I'm saying? He ain't gonna get it wrong. He said, "Who?" Then he told him who he was. I'm over the Most High Kingdom. That's who I am. Come on. Ain't that something?
Right, sir.
Yeah. You gotta gather that understanding. Our forefathers knew that. They understood that. That's why when he resurrected them, that JC ain't gonna work. It's gonna like I said, it's gonna be like water on a duck back. They ain't trying to hear that. They had a full understanding when they passed away and they died. They had a full understanding who they was dealing with and how it worked. Okay, Elijah, he ain't going for that when he come back. Okay. Anybody else got anything else before we go? Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I see y'all on Tuesday night for our Israelite Advanced Bible Study at 7 p.m. Central Time. Shalom, shalom, and another shalom.
Shalom, everybody.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel. And it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.